And we're live, everybody. Everybody, welcome to the Mod Brothers Present Sunday Spotlight. With me, as always, I have my co-host Mox Rocks. How are you, Mox?
Pretty good. How y'all doing?
I'm doing good. This show is a chance to introduce talented people in a new light to the community. First, we'll start with an interview, then we'll change gears into something more fun. We'd like to welcome our guest tonight, Miss Merry Mayhem. Would you like to introduce yourself to everybody, Mary?
Well, sure, guys. It's so weird being like on the other side here with you guys. I love it. You turn the wrench around on me, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I am Mary B. I am the Mistress of Mayhem. I'm disruptor of the narrative and official Whammon card holder. And yeah, I have a channel on Merry Mayhem, which hopefully you guys are familiar with. But yeah, we do a lot of stuff over there. And you guys are always so good to me over there moderating. And so I'm excited to be over here for you guys tonight.
We're normally in the backstage. Now we've turned the table on you.
And I didn't know about the game stuff until just a little bit ago. They were like, yeah. I was like, okay.
That's why we say it's an interview show with a twist.
I'll take it. I love it. Aw, let's see the chat. Hi, guys.
We got some people in the chat already. We have Butterfingers is here, Benzo, Candy Cane, Son of a Red Shirt, Thomas Conley, Thomas Gilkey, Tommy, DJ Odyssey. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Wookie's here. Wookie Lives Matter. With Mary's DUI scooter modding for us. So we'll get right into it, Mary. We'll put you under the spotlight and get right onto it.
Oh my goodness. Okay. We're getting personal, a little personal tonight, right?
Well, we'll ask some starter questions, about some things people may or may not know about you, just so everybody can get to know you a little bit better. Maybe things they don't know about you yet.
All right.
How old were you when you knew you had a talent for singing and narration?
So those are two different things altogether. I don't think there was an age that I knew, quote unquote, that I could sing. I think I just started driving my mother nuts the minute a voice could come out of my mouth. I suppose my first real memory of being able of wanting to sing, of wishing that I could, of wishing to be something specific in terms of singing was when I was a little girl. The Little Mermaid came out, and I saw that in theaters. One of the few movies I ever really got to see in theaters as a kid, and I remember just walking around the house and going, ah. My mom would get so frustrated with me. She'd be like, would you please shut up? It is so annoying. But I really loved just singing. And so I didn't necessarily know whether or not I was talented at it. I just knew I liked doing it. And so I would do it in all of the little church plays and everything like that. And so, yeah, that was early on, really before memory too well. But narration is something I have never really tried my hand at until recently, just here on my own channel. And there was a lot of positive feedback about that. I knew I was decent at reading. I knew that I enjoyed reading. I read to my kids growing up. So I would, get out the books and read it to them. And, they'd snuggle down in. And I did a decent job of putting them to sleep with books. But you could nail that down to just the sort of kids, being tired and Mimi's voice sort of lulling them off. But I got a lot of practice doing it that way. And then really never thought much about the whole narration thing until I decided to try to put up a few videos where I narrated some stories that I wrote. And you guys seemed to like it.
Yeah, they were a big hit. a very big hit. Yeah. Did you study or take any lessons or anything like that, like for singing?
No, we're dirt poor. So no, I didn't take any kind of lessons or anything. I suppose I was in choir for church, but there wasn't really lessons. That was just you sing this part and just lots and lots of practicing. So
I was going to ask you. I figured you sang in the choir in church. I know your family. You grew up very religious, and I had a pretty sneaking suspicion you probably sang in the choir.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I didn't really get solos until I was like 14 or 15, I think. And then that was the year I discovered that if you don't sing in falsetto, that because I don't have a particularly strong falsetto, I was forced to do a tryout. I realized there was no way I could hit something if I did it in falsetto. So I just stepped out of falsetto and did a little part, and it wound up being so much easier and sounded so much better than normal. And I got that solo. And then suddenly I realized, oh, I don't have a high voice. I have a low voice. So things sort of changed from there moving forward. Oh, yeah.
Have you ever met any famous or just cool people from like when you did DJ work?
So my boss actually, I don't know that he was famous so much as he was certainly a cool person. My boss, DJ Artie, well, I don't know if I should say his one, Party Artie, he actually worked with the Red Hot Chili Peppers and TLC and Prince.
Really?
So, yes. And he was the one who brought me on as a DJ. He initially was so confused for that. Oh my goodness, sorry, easily distracted. Originally my boss Rick had not wanted me brought onto the company. He was like, she's a ditz, she's stupid. And his manager Artie was like, I want her, let me try her out, please, let's give her a shot. And so he did, and it worked out beautifully. And then I became an MC, and wound up hosting the competition Karaoke Idol for the area that I live in. And it was just it sort of blew up. And then after a while, Rick was like really happy that I was there, and gave me a lot of responsibility, and I really enjoyed it. It was honestly the favorite thing that I've ever done with my life up to this point. I've never enjoyed a job more than I've enjoyed DJing. And so Artie's a pro, and I owed a lot to him. He's a wonderful person. So as far as the music industry goes, that's about as cool a person as you can meet.
What other types of work have you done other than being like a DJ?
I am a jack of all trades, you could say. So I worked for Nielsen TV Ratings. That was actually my second job. So I was a tele person, called you on the phone, took surveys. I did that for about a year. And then I got my CNA, my certification as a nursing assistant. And so I worked in a couple of different nursing homes, as well as in a mental health facility. And I worked as a mental health technician. So I did that. And then I sort of switched gears into DJing and became a bartender, and then did that. And then I have some serving experience as well. So I've done a lot of different things actually in my life.
It's a lot. That's several things I've never heard you talk about or that I knew about you being CNA or any of that. See, I'm learning something new too, and I've talked to you a lot behind the scenes.
Yeah. Where
did the Queen of Mayhem nickname start?
So Mary is just a variation on my name. My stage name, Mary B, was what I was as a DJ, and Mayhem was just a half-cocked idea I had one day while I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my channel, sort of trying to figure out who am I and what do I represent and what do I inject into this system here. And mayhem seemed like a good word for it, because I do intend to disrupt things, and it is my goal to kind of make things a little bit more difficult for the other side, as it were. I do disrupt that narrative, right? So the mayhem was just sort of my way of expressing that. And so I like to think of myself as a jovial person. I'm a typically a happy-go-lucky kind of gal. So Merry Mayhem.
I think that's a good description of you, because you're happy-go-lucky, but at the same time, you're not afraid to stir shit up. Excuse my French.
I will get into the fray. Sure. Yep.
Not Merry Mayhem.
No, not our sweet Merry Mayhem.
Just a little bit. Yeah.
Well,
not if I like you. And if I like you, I'll protect you like you're one of my own. I will rip a person apart if they come after someone I love. If you come after someone I love, which is essentially what a lot of this spawned from, because I love Luke Skywalker and I love Star Wars. And so if you come after someone or something that I love, I will shred you to pieces. There is not a piece of me that will hold back. But if I care for you, then expect that same thing in reverse, that I will defend you with my life. And so, but it takes a lot to get me riled up.
Well, that's interesting. You kind of touched on one of the questions I had for you. How old were you when you first saw Star Wars?
I don't remember. I was infantile. It's before memory. My father showed me Star Wars before I have memory of other things. I saw it over and over and over again. We weren't well off. We didn't have a lot of things, but Star Wars was one of the movies that we had. One of we had the trilogy, and my father would sit there with me on his lap, and we would watch it over and like we watched it all of the time when I was a kid, and it was just something that was sort of ingrained in me from before my memory.
So this had a huge impact on your life.
It is one of the foundational building blocks of who I am. There are a few things that I remember in terms of entertainment media that had an impact on my life, and Star Wars is chief among them.
Did you ever think being such a fan of Star Wars would lead you to meeting the Fandom Menace and joining?
Oh no, I couldn't fathom that. I could never have fathomed that. I knew that I was weird. As a teenager, I knew that I was odd, and I was a geek, right? And I knew that I didn't fit in well. I would quote things, right? Like I would quote Star Wars things back to my peers that I would interact with at church, because I was homeschooled, so I didn't really have too many outlets besides just softball and church. And I would quote these things back to my peers, and they would look at me like I was insane. And so I did know that early on there weren't a lot of places for people like me. There weren't a lot of groups for me to find a sort of way to nestle myself into as a younger person. And it wasn't really until I hit about 19, 20, 21 years old when I started to realize that there were groups of people like me out there, but that really took that avenue was more theater at the time. And then as I got older, I started doing cons and things like that. But yeah, as a younger person, it never would have occurred to me that there was a place where I could feel like I was at home, because I always felt so out of my own skin, so uncomfortable in my own skin, because the things that I loved and the things that I was passionate about were so far away from everything that all of the other females that I was around, or all really any of the other teenagers that I was around. I had my brother, but that was hardly a community. It was just me and my brother being dorks. So yeah, it was one of those things that I could never have fathomed that I would find such a wonderful, beautiful, large community that I would find my place in. Yeah.
Well, I heard you mention to a con. What other interests did you pick up from Star Wars or that community besides, like cons? Did you get into Magic the Gathering or cosplay or anything else?
So Star Wars is essentially the starting point of my geekdom, and it is the thing that spawned all of the things that I'm interested in. And I am a geek across the board on so many different topics, right? Like, so I enjoy gaming, and I enjoy different types of gaming. Like I was into World of Warcraft I played that for about 5 years. That took over my life. I do play Magic the Gathering. There are people who are far more talented at Magic than I am. So I do not claim to be a pro at Magic the Gathering, but I do still have my decks. And my favorite was I used a Merfolk blue deck. Which was actually not all that great. But I did play Magic, and then cosplay, specifically Star Wars spawned cosplay itself, just because it was where I learned that I can sew. Because I went to go see Star Wars with my brother in the theaters, and we wanted to dress up for it. And so in order for us to dress up, we needed cloaks, and we wanted to be Jedi. And so I got to sewing. And I sewed us some cloaks, and it was this really wonderful experience. And that was when I realized that I enjoyed imbibing another character. I enjoyed being someone else and getting to play that role. And that sort of spawned my love of cosplay moving forward. So I have my fingers in a lot of different pies, but Star Wars is always closest to my heart, for sure. But yeah.
Is there any kind of pointers that you could give me about like cons or cosplay or anything like that you've picked up from being around?
Cons, I'll tell you what, here's what you need to know about cons. If you're going to a con, you should be prepared in advance, especially if you plan to cosplay. So if you plan to cosplay at a con, you better be prepared. You will be taking pictures. And of course, people are generally very polite. Do you mind if I take your picture? just plan to not make much headway. If you go to a con in cosplay, you're going to spend a lot of your time on the floor taking pictures, especially if you have a good cosplay. If you have a good cosplay or an iconic cosplay and people pick up who you are right away, that is what you are going to spend the vast majority of your time doing. So if you're going in cosplay, plan to spend that day cosplaying, taking pictures, posing, work on your pose, imbibe that character. My favorite thing in the world to do was right as I was about to pose for a picture, I'd be like, we'll break his legs, right? Like you sort of perfect that voice and you get into the mode of that character. And if you're not planning on cosplaying, and you're just going to a con to just experience the con, you still need to plan ahead because there are different things that happen at a con. Are you going to panels? Are you going to walk the floor and try to get yourself some swag or some merch? Are you planning on going down to like an artist alley and getting some of the artwork that is available to you? Or like it depends on what you're planning on doing. If you're planning on going to panels, those things are scheduled. So you have to kind of be prepared and know what it is you're doing ahead of time. And don't, for the love of Bob, do not overbook yourself. Do not always be prepared to be at a panel at least an hour early, especially, well, depending on the con you're going to. Now, if you're going to something like OMG Con, which is something I've been to a few times, that's typically not as stressful. There's not as many people there. But if you're going to something like NYCC or San Diego Con, then be prepared to be at a panel at least an hour early and wear comfortable shoes, unless you're like me and you're cosplaying and you said F your feet for the day. And that's all there is to that. Just F my feet. So.
Okay. Well, I got a couple more questions and we'll throw it back to Han. How many cons and what types of cons have you been to? Because you're mentioning quite a few here.
So I've just been to a few different cons. Oh God, what was that name of that one in Watertown? So I've been to one in Watertown, New York. I've been to New York Comic Con 5 times, I believe. I've been to OMG Con 3 times. So all in total, I would say I've been to about 10 cons, somewhere between 10 and 12 cons total in my life. So yeah.
Oh, cool. Well, if there was any one con in the world you could go to, if it was Star Wars, magic, or anything, what would it be?
So there are 2 cons that are on my bucket list that I really want to go to. The first being obviously Star Wars Celebration is on my. I'm really hoping I'm able to go to that next year. That is a big goal. Not so much because of Star Wars anymore, obviously, because the state of Star Wars has sort of broken me lately. But it has more to do with, at this point, the ability to sort of interact with everybody else in the community, right? Like at this point, I'm at a place where it's about the people that I love, that I want to connect with on a more personal level, to get to meet people, to be able to touch people. And yes, I'm a toucher. I will touch you. I'm going to hug you. That's all there is to it. If I see you at Star Wars Celebration, I'm hugging you. And that's all there is to it. So unless you look at me and you tell me, please don't touch me, in which case I'll be like, okay. But I am probably going to hug you, unless you specifically tell me not to. But yeah, I want to connect with people at Celebration. And then there's one other I'm super hyped up. I definitely want to go to at some point in my life. It's called RTX. It's Rooster Teeth. If you guys aren't familiar with Rooster Teeth, it's a sort of online company. I'm super into several of their shows, but chiefly an American anime called Ruby, which I've cosplayed one of the characters from that, Nora, over and over and over again. I've cosplayed multiple iterations of Nora at this point. So yes, I would love to go to RTX. They held that in Texas, and that is at some point I'm going to go to that con one way or another. So yeah.
Have you ever heard of Dragon Con?
Yes, and BlizzCon, and there are lots of wonderful, amazing cons that you can go to. It just depends on what your thing is, you know. There are lots of cons.
Just so you know, I'm recording this. I'm going to make a meme that's you just saying, "I will touch you."
I will touch you. Let me give it to you one more time. We'll give you a different inflection here. I will touch you.
For people who don't know, when did you first start your YouTube channel?
So I began my YouTube channel as it is, or as at least the conceptually as it is, back in January of this year. However, I put up content about 10 years ago. So I actually shot a movie when I was a young woman, called The Harley Werewolf. And I wrote it, scripted it out, directed it, starred in it, and it was bad. It's bad. It's so bad. It's very cringe. I'm not even sure that it's the kind of so bad that makes it good. I just don't know. I'm biased. But it's so bad. But I did upload that onto my channel about 10 years ago. And then there have been little intermittent things here and there in between. A lot of that is privated at this point because it's not conducive to the current work that I'm trying to do. So I guess technically speaking, I've had a channel for about 10 years. But in terms of what you know as Merry Mayhem, about a little less than 10 months.
So what were your thoughts on YouTube when you first started?
As a fandom minister, I couldn't have known what I was really getting into. I saw YouTube as a platform, an opportunity to sort of use my voice. So Jeremy Griggs from Geeks and Gamers, he sort of issued a call to those of us. You could call it a call to adventure. If you have a voice and you want to use it, do it. And things had changed for me in my life at that point, and I realized that I was in a different place than I had been prior to that, and that perhaps I did have something to say or something to add to this conversation. And so I sort of took that up as a call to adventure, because I had previously spurned it, because there had been moments, there had been conversations back and forth. People, because I've supported Jeremy since the beginning. He was between, I think, 2,000 and 3,000 subscribers at the time. I'd get into his comment section and I'd go at it with people and be like, hey, you don't even know what you're talking about. This guy is legit. He's trying to do something good and you're calling him all these terrible names. And so, well, I specifically remember someone saying like, well, why don't you do this? Why don't you start your own channel? And I was like, because it's not for me. It's not something I want to do. It's not something I'm in a place in my life right now that I want to do. So I had spurned that call before. And then I found myself in a place where I felt like I could take that up, and perhaps I should even. So I decided that was something that I should go ahead and address. And I just viewed YouTube as a platform, place to use my voice, and that's it. A place to put it out there, a place to fight back against the grain. I didn't realize all of the intricacies that are involved in YouTube. YouTube is taxing at times, but it's worth it. It's definitely worth it.
So since you've started, we'll say since you've started as Merry Mayhem and really got into YouTube, I can't talk. What has surprised you the most about YouTube since you've really been getting into YouTube and the community?
How much work it is. So maybe you've heard the term the YouTube grind.
Yeah.
YouTube is an all the time thing. All the time. I was taken aback by just how much it demands from you as a person. It really, you have to stay on top of it. It's not a forgiving thing. If you miss stuff, if you skip days, if you find yourself not in the thick of it, you tend to take a step backward. There was actually a lot of anxiety for me when I went on my vacation, that freaking 3-week long, almost 4-week vacation. I was pretty terrified that I was going to wind up sort of taking these giant steps backwards with my channel, just because I wasn't sure that I was going to be able to keep up with the content. Now, thankfully, ahead of time, I'd had a lot of pre-records done, so the content was still coming out pretty regularly. And I think I only missed just a video or two really during that time frame. But YouTube takes a lot out of you, and it asks a lot of you. And I wasn't really ready for that. I think I understand it better now, and it's still something that I want to do. It's still something that I'm passionate and interested in. It's still fervently chasing down. But no, I did not understand the sort of gravitas of my decision getting into it.
I will say you handled that very well by pre-recording all that stuff. I know it was very hard on you to pre-record all that stuff ahead of time, but you didn't just disappear because, bluntly, YouTube can be a fickle mistress.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're up, and you take one false step, and you're right back down again.
Yeah.
Like you said, the grind.
Yeah.
And a lot of people that watch shows or channels and get upset over just a video, or maybe you miss a video, they don't understand what all goes into it.
Mm.
So you have a varied, I mean, I know you're Fandom Menace, you're part of the Fandom Menace, but you have some very varied content on your channel. Has been bringing things like karaoke or D&D, has that been hard to bring that when you're dealing with the Fandom Menace community?
Yeah, I don't think people expect it. So there's a desire to distinguish yourself, to set yourself apart from everyone else, and to recognize that, look, not everybody wants to see the same video over and over and over again, or to see the same content over and over and over again. And so I've made this attempt to sort of branch out and to give people an alternative to just the sort of not just the news can be found on my channel. But I don't think people expect it, or maybe people aren't aware that this is here. And of course, I'm still working on it. I'm still trying to hone it. I'm still trying to figure out exactly how to bring these things about in the most entertaining way possible. There are things that I love, things that I'm passionate about. I love comedy. Look, pro tip to all you guys in the chat. Nothing is more appealing than a guy with a sense of humor, right? Humor is so sexy and it's so much fun. And I have such a blast engaging with humor, because who doesn't like to laugh, right? And so taking a night each week to just sort of relax and laugh at some stuff. And even if what we did wasn't necessarily that funny, I guarantee you our attempt at it was, because we screw stuff up all the time, and it's the goal is to just sort of bring this humor to it. Not everybody is necessarily figured out that that's an option. So it's catching, though. Shenanigans is really caught on. And then I'm still trying to fine tune things like Dungeons and Dragons, my show Failed Save. It's not for everybody. Not everybody plays D&D. But I love it. And it's a way to bring this passion, this thing that I'm passionate about, to people, and maybe give them an opportunity to kind of peek behind the window. Even if you don't personally play, this is what it looks like. And it can be a lot of fun. It can be a lot of fun. So still working on it, still fine tuning it, still figuring out some of the kinks and the bugs. But yeah, it's been a trial, and it's been a process, but we're working on it. It's getting better. It's definitely getting better, and it's only going to get better. So
I'm laughing because Mox and I were having a conversation behind the scenes earlier, and he was saying that if you can make somebody laugh, then you really have an end. That really means something if you can make somebody laugh.
Mm-hmm. It's true. It's true. And I don't have a Hanstar plushie because there is no replicating Hanstar and his glorious beard.
She's already got a imitation of me sitting behind her.
Yeah, she feeds it ramen every night before she goes to bed.
Yeah. That roast chicken ramen every night. The cup of noodle.
Oh yeah, Mary's high class. It's not top ramen. It's cup of noodle.
Yeah, it's cup of noodle. There's veggies in there. Yeah, dehydrated veggies.
Now all you guys see why I left where I was to upgrade over here. The ramen is much better. So, Mary, if you could change one thing, or if you would like to see more of one thing and less of another on YouTube, what would it be?
I'd love to see people reach across the aisle more to each other. There's a lot of hate for the Fandom Menace out there. And so I can only sort of speak from my angle and where I sit. But just because you hate us doesn't mean we hate you. Just because you think you know, or you think you understand us, doesn't mean you do. And I'd like to see a dialogue between those people who tend to label us as these things that they assume we are. I'd love to see a dialogue take place. I'll talk to you. respectfully. I'll do it respectfully. If you treat me with respect, I will do the same. Um, Example, I didn't know Chris Knight from Adam when I first met him. I just knew that he liked The Last Jedi and that he was willing to speak to me. It was all I knew. Turned out to be one of my dearest friends here in the community. One of the few people who actually knows how to get a hold of me, like actually get a hold of me. Like Chris can holler at me whenever he wants, and he doesn't have to use social media to do it. And that had only to do with one thing, and that was that he was willing to talk to me. And so we came to an understanding and agreement that, okay, so we don't agree on The Last Jedi. There are lots of things that he and I don't agree on, and that's okay, because he never assumed anything about me and I never assumed anything about him. And I think that one thing we can do as people, not just as YouTubers, but as people as well, is we can talk to one another, especially people we don't agree with. And so I'd like to see people reach across the aisle and have that conversation and have that dialogue, and maybe take a step back, and your presuppositions are not always correct about a person, and always be willing and open to the idea that maybe you're wrong and that's okay, or maybe I'm wrong and that's okay, and we can talk, and perhaps that can make things better. Maybe things can get better. So I just like to see dialogue happen.
Interesting. I know it wasn't on your radar when you first started your channel about 10 years ago, but when you started taking on the persona of Merry Mayhem, did you see yourself being monetized and having almost 2,000 subs?
No. Well, I actually had a conversation. So Abu Nas was on. This was months and months and months ago now. I think I was like a 500 sub channel or something like that. And we had this conversation about, why it is we're here. Why are we here? Why are we doing this? And obviously I'm going to paraphrase here because I don't remember my exact words, but my verbiage was something to the effect of, look, if you're here to make money, if you're here to become a big time YouTube star, chances are that's never going to happen. In all likelihood, you'll find yourself sitting down here with a few hundred, a few thousand subs, and nothing is ever going to take off, because the likelihood of you becoming a YouTube star is just slim to none, because you have to be something very specific, and you have to hit people on a very specific level, and that just doesn't always work, and that doesn't always resonate. But if you're here because you're trying to use your voice, and for me it was about the overall volume of the combined voice of all of us, which was why I started, right, was this sort of combined effort, right? They can't ignore all of us. That if that's why you're here, and you're being sincere, and you're being honest, and you're trying to be as genuine as you can be about your approach to things, then that's worthwhile. That's worth your time. That in and of itself is a valuable thing to contribute to the community. So no, I honestly, I never foresaw where any of this would go, because I didn't have any expectation of it going anywhere. I just knew that I felt a need to speak, and I felt a call to action, and so I heeded it, and I still don't know where things will go. I don't assume anything. I don't assume anything for my channel. I just know that I want to make a difference, and I feel like I'm doing that, and that's enough. Would it be wonderful if I became, a 10K channel, or a 50K channel, or whatever? I don't know. Would that be wonderful? Sure, that would be fantastic. And would it extend the reach of my message? I would love that. Would it extend what it is that I'm passionate about, and the endeavors that I like to engage in? Yes, that would be amazing. But I'm also not one of those people who counts their chickens before they hatch, because I think that's a silly thing to do to yourself. I just know that I'm here, and I have you guys, and you have me, and we have each other. So let's see what happens.
Cool. Do you have any plans for your YouTube channel in the future that you want to share with the peeps that are listening out here?
So many plans. So I'm working on a few things. It has been suggested to me that I do more narration. I have a book that I recently received from Sith Lord, sitting right back there with all of my cool stuff. A lot of that stuff you sent me, Mox and Han, and I am looking forward to getting into reading some more and maybe doing some expanded universe Star Wars content reading narration for people. Maybe you won't have to buy the book. I don't know what that means in terms of, copyright or anything like that. I don't know what that means, but I'd like to start getting some of that out there for people. And so that's one thing I'd like to add to it. And there are lots of things I'd like to try and do, but that's definitely one of the things that I plan to add to my content a little bit more often.
Cool. I got one more question, and I'm gonna pass it back over to my mod brother over there. Outside the things that we've covered tonight, what are the top 5 things that most people do not know about Merry Mayhem?
I did homework for this, guys. So, okay. This is a little weird. So I guess it's personal. But yes, I am a good whistler. This is probably not super crazy for people, but I'm proud of it. Do you want to hear some whistling?
Of course we do.
It took a second.
Of course. Why wouldn't we want to hear some whistling?
I can prove it. I can prove I'm a good whistler. You ready? All right. Okay, I'm smiling too much to accomplish this very well. I can breathe in and out when I whistle. So yeah, I don't have to stop.
Honestly, until you said that one day, it may have been behind the scenes. Until you said that one day, I never thought about whistling while you inhaled.
Yep. You can do it. This is an inhale. Is an exhale. Yep. So, yeah, I'm a damn good whistler. I think. I mean, I'm not the best whistler ever, but I'm pretty proud of that little thing. Next thing I can do, or people may not know that I was good at. I haven't played in a long time, but I was a pitcher for softball when I was a kid and a teenager. I was a pitcher for slow pitch, a little bit of fast pitch as I got older. But yeah, pretty decent pitcher. That tomboy. We'll have a whistle. Oh, okay. You can try, Ryan. You can try. So yeah. Also, something people may not know, something I don't talk about too often. I grew up poor, not like a little poor, not like the kind of poor that you think of, like, oh, they didn't have Nikes, or, oh, they didn't wear Fila. No, I grew up the kind of poor where there were holes in the floor and long stretches of no electricity. Like long stretches, months at a time. There was one year that we didn't have electricity for Thanksgiving. And my mother, we received a box of food from the church to kind of, give us a Thanksgiving dinner. But we didn't have any way for my mom to cook the turkey. So she went out and got a wine box oven and just lined it with foil and used it to cook said turkey. So being poor, I'm actually kind of proud of it in a weird way, because it teaches you a lot of sort of these skills that most people don't know. A lot of things that you can learn to sort of rely on yourself in a lot of ways when you don't have electricity. My mother used to put blankets up in the doorways to block off parts of the house, and then she would huddle all 3 of us kids on the pull-out couch bed, and she would light up the kerosene heater, and that was how she kept us alive in the winter and kept us from dying. So yeah, I was pretty poor growing up. So okay, so 2 more things, right? I can draw, sort of. I draw a little bit. Do you want to see?
Of course we do.
So I have a few things here, some things that I've drawn. Oh, hello, face. Hi. So yeah, these are just some of the things that I've drawn. So this is actually, a lot of these are D&D characters. This was my old D&D character. His name was Tristan, and he was a sprat, and he was very, very catty, and he loved the women. So
it also sounds like he was French.
He was also French. He was from the Isle of Calibor. So he was quite dashing with the ladies. Oh, there's another D&D character that I drew. This was for my friend who lived next door to me, and I tried to get her into D&D. She wasn't quite as into it as I was, but I did draw her character for her. I drew a lot of characters I've drawn a lot of D&D characters over the years. This was my daughter's first D&D character. She was also a sprite, Violet Rose, and she wanted to be a pretty little fairy. So I said, well, you can't be a fairy, but you can be a sprite. So I drew this for her. I'm not an artist. I'm just okay. Yeah, my Jasmine. This is old though. This is so old. Yeah. I am capable of drawing my son's first D&D character, his Minotaur. So pretty proud of that. Yeah, that's actually a sketch I'm working on currently. Not quite there yet. Succubus, my brother's Succubus that I drew for him. Yeah, I'm all right. So yeah, I draw.
I think you undersell yourself. You're more than capable of drawing.
It's all right. I'm okay. Oh yeah. I don't want to be the only person on
Wait a
screen.
minute. I'll drop you. I'll drop you back down with everybody else.
So yeah.
I think that left you one more thing.
One more thing. For those of you who may not know, who are in the chat, I have a twin brother. And I am the older of the two twins. So I am 16 minutes older than my twin brother. And when we were little, we used to play Star Wars with, like the wrapping paper rules. We would get into, lightsaber fights with each other. And we used to argue over who got to be Luke Skywalker. And he was like, well, I'm Luke Skywalker because I'm the boy. And I was like, no, you don't just get to be Luke Skywalker just because you're a boy. He's like, you have to be Leia. And I was like, no, I want to be Luke. So, yeah. I have a twin brother. So, yeah.
Is he the evil twin?
It depends on the day. Sometimes I'm the evil twin. So,
no, you're too sweet to be the evil twin.
I washed his Halloween jacket for him, or his Halloween shirt for him earlier, so he hugged me for that. But yeah.
So, what 5 women have most inspired you in your life?
So the first and foremost has to be my mother. For one of the reasons I mentioned earlier, just the woman is brilliant. So she's Mensa. My mother's insanely smart, but she's also incredibly resourceful. So when we were in those situations when I was younger, she always found a way to kind of help us rise above it. And there was never anything that she couldn't do. She'd be down on the floor, nailing down floorboards, building sheds from scrap wood and metal that people would give us. And she, cooking turkeys in wine box ovens and replacing electrical sockets and blow drying frozen pipes and doing anything and everything that you can imagine to hold our family together. And so she's an insanely resourceful woman. And maybe that's because she's incredibly smart. I think my mother's IQ is almost 140. Or I'm sorry. So she's an insanely smart, brilliant woman. But she's also, I've met a lot of smart people who are also stupid at the same time. And my mother is just really quick and capable, and Southern Belle. She's a Southern Belle, and very proud of her heritage. And obviously that leaks into her children. So I'm very proud of my heritage, and she's just the kind of stand-up woman that you'd like to be like. She's a heart of gold. My mother has this ability to reach out to people who are hurting or in need, and she will find a way to get to them. If she feels needed, she will get to you. And she will help you in whatever way that she can. My mother has the kind of heart that it's so beautiful, and it extends to everyone that she encounters. And wish I could be half the woman that she is. So I just absolutely adore her, and I hope one day I get to leave a legacy like the one that she has behind her. So my mom first and foremost, of course. There's also another woman. I won't say her full name either because I don't know how her family would feel about that. But a woman who I grew up with named Miss Joy, who. So I have ADHD, and I didn't know for a long time. And so I was sort of a bouncy kid, and I was very difficult for people to get close to. And I thought I was stupid. I really thought I was dumb. And I started sort of going to this new church, and Miss Joy reached out to me. I entered a program called Stars, and she took it upon herself, because I didn't want to be in it. I didn't want to read. I didn't want to do any of the stuff that I was supposed to be doing in this program. It just felt like school, and I didn't want to go to school. I had enough school, right? So, but she kept sort of quizzing me and be like, well, you're smart. You can do this. And she looked at me very expectantly. She had this expectation of me that no one had really had of me before. And she began to kind of goad me forward and pressure me in a way that no one else had ever really pressured me before. No one else seemed to expect much of me, and yet she expected it of me, and she expected more. So I entered the program a year late. I was a year behind all the other girls, and a lot of girls who entered the program and had the full 4 years to do it never completed it, let alone a year late. And so it was never expected that I would complete that program. They expected I would hit 12 years old, move into the youth group, and move on, and that would be the end of it, because I was a waste of time. But she didn't. She expected me to do it, and she expected me to do it faster than anyone else. But I was stupid, and how could I? But she didn't care. She said I was smart, and she expected it, and she pushed me, and she pressured me. And she did that for 3 years. And when it was over, I graduated with the second highest score in the history of our state, in a year less time than any other girl had ever done. So Miss Joy, she earned my respect. She didn't have to spend her time on me, but she did. Sorry. So Miss Joy.
No, you're fine. A lot of feels. That's okay.
A lot of feels. Love Miss Joy. Always will. She was a beautiful lady. So, and then it's hard to follow that up with my sort of non-real characters after this, because they hardly compare. But there are other female influences in my life. Scarlett O'Hara. You can see it back there. My wonderful poster. I love Scarlett O'Hara. She's an incredibly strong, powerful, capable woman. Get down in the dirt. Do a little farming if she needs to.
You know you have to say it now.
Oh. wait, hold on. Am I supposed to? Are you telling Mox to say it, or are you telling me to say it?
No, I'm saying you have to say it.
Oh, as God is my witness, I'll never be hungry again.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
I love Scarlett O'Hara. I think she's a powerful woman, well before people give Hollywood credit for making powerful women. She's an insanely powerful woman, and I'm strong, and I can shoot straight if I don't have to shoot too far. She's just such a strong, capable woman. And so I was, introduced to her growing up in one of the few movies we had, and so I loved her. Princess Leia, of course, Princess Leia, because another strong, powerful woman, a woman who people like to act like that gold bikini is somehow disempowering, but I will have you know, that woman took those chains while she was dressed in a gold-clad bikini, and she murdered her captor with them. So that is a powerful woman right there. She never took guff from anyone, and she was always willing to step into the lead, but she was also capable of recognizing when people around her had the edge and needed to sort of defer to someone else, right? She wasn't a harpy. She didn't make everybody around her miserable. She was very smart. She was very intelligent. She was very empowered, and she did what she needed to do. But she was also a woman, She was comfortable in her femininity, and I never felt like that was diminished in any way with her. So I loved that. And then the last but not least, and this is probably in terms of the heroines, fictional heroines that I've sort of tried to model myself after, this is by far and large the one that I would say absolutely the most that I've tried to model myself after is Belle from Beauty and the Beast. So fun tidbit, another thing you guys didn't know about me. In my family, all of the women have Disney princesses. We've been bequeathed a Disney princess whom we are most like, and mine is Belle. And I was given that Disney princess when I was a little girl. When the movie first came out and we first met Belle, she was who I wanted to be immediately from the get-go. She was smart. She was also very sacrificial. She laid down her own freedom forever in order to give her father back his life, in order to set him free. So she has this sort of sacrificial love about her. She'll lay everything to the side for someone that she loves, and then she'll make the best of that situation. And she has this sort of gratitude for everything around her, even when things look bad and things look terrible. But she also wasn't a pushover. She wasn't a doormat. She stood up to herself. When the Beast started acting like a jerk, she would go ahead and holler back at him. Well, if you'd stop moving, it wouldn't hurt so much. You know, she knew how to find her voice and how to speak out and how to do what it was that she needed to do and say what she needed to say. But she was also overwhelmingly warm and kind and compassionate, and she never lost that compassion, and that brought about in her life sort of full circle came to her because she showed compassion to a person who others, it never occurred to that they should show them, that compassion should be shown to. She was able to look past the exterior and see a person inside, even inside of a beast. And so Belle is by far, in terms of fictional characters, the person that I would say is top rank, best heroine. I would like, that is who I've tried to model myself after as best I can. So yeah, that went on forever. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
Yeah.
So you know we're the Mod Brothers, so we're about to turn the wrenches and change gears on you.
Oh yeah. What are you gonna do to me? This or that? Oh. What is this?
We have to have a little wrench sound since we're the.
Do I have to be on camera for this?
No, you don't have to be on camera. You don't have to be on camera for any of it. We love to see you on camera, but you don't have to be.
I'll be right back. I'm still here. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just off camera for 1 second here.
So we have a little thing that we have on the show that we like to call this or that. It's to get to know you a little bit better, Mary, and with some different questions you may not necessarily get on other interview shows. So we're going to ask you some questions, and you can answer it with this or that.
Okay.
With one answer or the other.
All right. Let's do this.
Rice cakes or rice pudding?
Rice pudding.
Power Rangers or Voltron?
Power Rangers.
Day at the lake or a night out at the club?
Day at the lake.
Good answer. Cornbread or Johnny cakes?
Cornbread.
I figured that's what you were saying. Tubing or rafting?
Tubing.
Football or basketball?
Basketball.
I knew you were going to say that because, as you know, I grew up not far from you. And in that area, basketball is way more popular than football.
Basketball is life.
If nobody even knows that the colleges up there have football teams.
I know we have football teams because my father watches it, but basketball, man, Kentucky, UK can't beat it, okay? Like, we're the best, okay?
Oh, my dad has a UK tattoo on his arm.
My brother does, too.
He's true blue UK basketball.
Yep.
Well, I guess I'm going to ask you a few questions before I turn it back over to Han for us to really turn the wrenches on you. So, book in a fire or beer in a bonfire?
Wait, book in a fire or beer in a bonfire? Book in a fire.
Okay. Swimming or fishing?
Fishing.
Grits or oatmeal?
Oatmeal.
Store-bought booze or boot?
Store bought, but that's because I know what my daddy has in the cabinet. And that moonshine will rip the paint off a wall.
Clear boot or boot with fruit?
Wait, what?
Clear boot or boot with fruit in it?
Boot with fruit.
Okay. I already know the answer, but I had to throw this in just because I am Mox Rocks. Inhale deeply or Hell 420?
Hail 420.
Oh, I have been stunned. Well, I'm going to have to hand it back over to you, Han. I don't know what to say after that.
you're dumbstruck with her answer, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
One of these days I will Hail 420. I just haven't done it recently.
Well, unfortunately for you, Mary, that was just the warm-up.
Oh, no.
So we're about to turn the wrenches again.
All right. Okay. Das Boot.
This is a little segment we like to call Das Boot. This or that was just a warm-up for you.
Oh my goodness.
There was no ramifications to this or that. Das Boot, we're going to ask you questions, and if you get it wrong, we're booting your ass off the show.
No.
Now, we'll bring you back for the ending, but really think about your answers. That's all we're going to say.
Okay.
Because Das Boot means you're getting kicked.
Am I timed on these?
No, you're not timed.
Okay.
It's similar to this or that. It just has more ramifications than this or that.
Okay.
Trucks, long bed or short bed?
Long bed.
Coveralls or not at all?
Coveralls.
Diesel or gas?
Diesel.
Okay. I don't really understand this question, but cattails or catbird?
I don't know what catburn is.
Catbird.
Catbird. I'd say cattails just because I'm still not sure what catbird is. I know what a cattail is. Am I getting booted?
Not on that one.
Tree stand or tree house?
Okay, so I don't hunt. But I respect people who do, and I haven't been in a tree house in forever, so tree stand.
Okay.
Oh. Okay. Pinto beans with onions or without?
With.
Okay. Music, the OG or the remix?
Oh, the OG.
Okay. Hunt in the woods or hike in the woods?
For me, hike in the woods.
Picnic or dinner?
Picnic.
Princess Ariel or Leia?
Leia.
Hey, Mary. We was just kidding. These were just the warm-ups to Das Boot. Are you ready for the real ones?
Are you serious? You get messed with.
See, we just wanted to make you sweat a little bit.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, we just wanted to make you sweat a little bit, Mary.
Oh my goodness.
Cabin in the woods or an RV in an RV park?
Cabin.
A pick guitar, like an acoustic guitar or an electric guitar?
Pick guitar. That's what my daddy does all of the time.
Honey or sugar?
Honey.
Is it America or America?
It's America.
Buckshot or slugs?
Oh, I guess buckshot.
Okay. Frogs, squish, or delish?
Delish.
Honey or maple syrup?
Honey.
Steak dinner or backyard barbecue?
Oh, backyard barbecue. Because you can still get that steak.
Open highway or back road?
Back road all day, every day.
Okay. Pond or a swimming pool?
Pond. Because you can catch frogs too.
So, Mary, The most important question we're going to ask you tonight. What is RHEC?
Yeah, what does that stand for?
RHEC?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, Das Boot.
Das Boot. She's done, I will say, she's done better than 99% of the other people we've interviewed so far.
Yeah, so far she got
made
to the
it-
last one.
Yeah, she made it to the very last question.
But
We'll
her
bring
ass still
back.
got booted
Yeah,
off.
we'll bring you back, Mary. We won't leave you in the backstage.
Well, now you got to tell me what it is.
RHEC?
Yeah.
Ryan Upchurch told you perfectly well. Don't step in my backyard unless you raise hell and eat cornbread with me.
Okay, raise hell and eat cornbread.
But you have made it farther than anybody else we've had on the show. We've had a couple people that have made it like 2 or 3 questions and got booted. You made it to the very last question. So as of right now, you're the DOS boot champion, even though you still got DOS booted.
Even though I still got DOS booted.
Yeah, you're still the champion, even though you got DOS booted.
Son of a red shirt. No, a cattail isn't. I mean, yes, you can have a cattail as a whip, but cattails are just they're things that grow by the water. Sorry, I about lost my talking.
And if you're in a survival situation, you can also eat a cattail and survive off of
Mm-hmm. And you can.
eat the roots.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't eat the tail of it.
We appreciate you being here, Wookie.
Mm.
Have a good night.
Love me some Wookie.
So that's going to wrap our show up for the night. Mary, do you want to go on and plug yourself again for those of us in the audience that don't know who you are? Although I'm pretty sure everybody in the audience knows who you are. But
You want me to plug myself in front of everybody? Han, what a leading thing to say. No. Guys, I hope I see everybody in the chat. I know everybody in the chat, but in case people come by later and catch this and they don't know who I am Mary B, and I am the mistress of mayhem, disruptor of the narrative, and official Whammon card holder. And my favorite thing in the world to do is just cause a little mayhem, mess with the other side a little bit, and maybe bring some sanity back to the crazy world we're living in. So yeah.
Well, I hope you had fun on the show tonight.
I had a wonderful time. Thank you for bringing me on.
And I'm Hanstar. Obviously, you know my channel because you're here. But you can follow me on Twitter at HanstarYT or Instagram at HanstarYT. And I also have my co-host with me, Mox. Anything you want to say to the people tonight, Mox?
Yeah, if you guys want to find me, I'm on Twitter, MoxRocks1103, MoxTweets1. You can catch live streams, IGG Comics. You can find Wednesday's content. If you don't know what it is, find out for yourself. See you guys later.
Follow Mox and I on Twitter. Mox tweets a lot. I retweet a lot. I do tweet some myself, but I'm Mox's retweet army to see when different creators, such as our lovely Merry Mayhem, are streaming and putting out content, and lots of indie creators that we also cross paths with and are a friend of ours. Follow us on Twitter, and you'll see when all these lovely people are doing their thing and putting out new content. But I appreciate everybody being here tonight. Mox, Mary, if you want to say goodbye to everybody in the chat, we appreciate everybody in the chat. And good night, everybody. Have a good night.
Thanks, everybody.
Right.